Everybody, this is Virginia Milner coming to you for the DeKalb County Library, and I thought we could make some earrings today. Last tutorial we did a bracelet that is a nice companion piece to a necklace that we did 3 years ago. 3 years. I thought it was two, but it was actually three. And I showed the picture of it to some people in my classes, and somebody said, "Oh, those would make beautiful earrings." And so I thought, you're right. So we're going to make some earrings based on that bracelet and necklace so that you can have a full set. So thank you, Mary. That was a great idea that we are going to do today. So all you'll need are your regular tools, but first of all, I'm going to be using some seed beads. We've come out of Black History Month, but I had been using some beautiful seed beads that they use for waist beads, and they're just small enough to embellish these earrings in a way that's not too big or too heavy. So I thought that we would use those for these earrings. These earrings are very scroll like and spiraled. So I thought we would use the seed beads for that because they're beautifully colorful, and that against the metal that we're using is going to be really pretty. So I'm using the African seed beads that a nice strand. I didn't bring the strand down. I took some off of it. A nice strand that I have that are called Christmas beads. But you don't have to use those. You can use any seed beads, all colors, all different colors. And I do want to show you another one that I did that was kind of a nod to St. Patrick's Day, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. So that's what we're going to do today. You only need your usual tools, your round nose pliers. The barrels are round all the way around from bottom to top. The bottom is slightly thicker or larger than the rest of it. It just gradually gets smaller as you make your way up to the tip. Then you have your round nose pliers, and every time I get people who get this confused because these are slightly rounded. They're not um, fully square or flat. But if you look on the inside, that's completely flat in there. And when you're buying these in the store or online, make sure that they don't have those little grips or ridges on the inside that can mar your wire. Now, somebody says it's kind of hard to see that online, but they usually have pictures of the inside and the outside of the little arms here. So you should be able to see whether or not they're flat. If they don't have that, get them someplace else because you really don't want to chew up your wire with those little grips that some of the pliers have on the inside. The third thing that you need are a pair of wire cutters, and that's exactly what they do. They cut wire. In this case, that's all they're cutting is the wire. So those are the things that you need. You need some seed beads. I'm using 20 gauge wire for the entire piece. So beads and wire is all we need for this. So let's go ahead and get down here to the mat and get started. Okay, the first thing I need, here's my little collection of the seed beads that are used for waist beads. And if anybody has a tiny enough waist that you can string these around them, good for you. I am past that. So I found other ways to use these lovely beads in a way that I think is very flattering. So we're going to use these for our earrings. And what I need is 5 inches of 20 gauge wire. Got that. And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to that again, is measure 1 inch from the end and grab my round nose pliers right there at that inch mark, right there at the inch. I'm going to use my pliers to rotate. Oops, let's get up here where you can see. I'm going to use my pliers to rotate my wire until it's crossed over like this. kind of doing the splits. And then I'm going to leave that in there. I'm going to bend the long wire straight down. So there's my loop. Then I'm going to grab my square pliers, hold on to my loop. I call this the face of my loop. And I'm going to bring this short tail over to the other side. I'm not wrapping it all the way around. I'm just wrapping it around enough so that it ends up on the other side, sort of like when you wrap a scarf around your neck. Let's straighten that up a little bit. There. So there's my little loop. Then I'm going to put some beads on. And you can put them on any way you want. They don't have to go on any particular way. It's entirely up to you. I want to give you a heads up that these, because the seed beads are always all different colors, they're not gonna match, but the design of the earrings alone is gonna be enough that they will look similar, if not the same. Oops. I want to get on a lot of these pretty striped ones. It's always a mix. I think, yeah, these were the Christmas beads. It's always a mix of what you get on your strands. And some of them are patterned, usually striped. And some of them are solid. So it just depends on what you get. It's always a little bit of a mystery. You look at that one. Neat. Okay. Keep going. And I just want about 1.5 inches of beaded wire. Keep going. Ooh, this is pretty. Yeah, get on there. Oops, lost it. Let me measure. Make sure I've got my little inch. I'm not going over my 1.5 inches. Ooh, yes, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Almost 1.5. I want this one. So I think I'll take this little green one off and put this green one on. And yellow. Oops, they're tiny. Usually when they fall, the hole falls up, so you can kind of poke your wire straight down in there to pick it up. Because I am bumble fingers. All right, let's see what I've got. Yeah. Yes, 1.5. Very nice. All right, from there, I'm going to make a loop on the other side. Look how much I've got left. Get those out of the way. Don't want to lose them. So what I'm going to do is bend my wire. Now, the other side, we just rolled it. But this side, I've got the beads on, so I can't do that. So I'm going to bend the wire to the side so that it matches this one. So now they're both going in the same direction. Then I'm going to make my loop. Yes. Then I'm going to make my loop. Now, I'm just making a loop big enough um, that it doesn't have to be very big. So I'm just going about, a little more than a quarter, between 1/4 and 1/3 of the way down my pliers. You can do it any way you want. So I'm going to use my fingers, bring that wire over the top and down the side to where my beads are. Then I'm going to hold on to my beads, reposition my pliers out of my way, and then bring that wire all the way around until it's sticking out on the same side as the other one. And then I'm going to grab my square pliers and shift that wire over to the other side, just like that. So that's what I have so far. So now what I'm going to do, this is the amount that I want. I knew this side was going to be a little longer, so I need to cut it down to the same length, which is about 3/4 or 7/8, I would say. All right, I've got just under an inch. Good. Okay. And this side is an inch and a quarter. So let's cut that off to match the other side. Always hold on to the tip so that it doesn't fly across the room to parts unknown, and then you'll have to look for it. Not my favorite thing, I tell you that right now. Okay, it's just a little over an inch. Snip off another little piece. Now, if your tip is too small for you to hold on to, I always caution people about putting their finger here, because if there's any distance between your finger and the tip of the wire, that tip could go flying right into your finger. So if you have anything with a little bit of a well, you can use that to cut that off into. Oh, and it's stuck to my pliers. Look at that. But just in case, you'll have some place for that little tip of wire to go. Okay, so now I have just under an inch, like the other side. Very good. Okay, sorry about that. Got a little message that I had to answer. All right, so now I have my little arms here that I'm going to use to make spirals. So I'm going to go with my round nose pliers. For this, I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, and I'm going to grab the tip of my wire with the tip of my pliers. Now, I want to make sure that that tip is firmly ensconced in between the wire. Now, if you grab it too hard, it pops out like that. I tried to do it and it didn't go, so I had to just let it go. But see, it does that. But so what you can do is put your finger there for a little more support. Check to see that that tip is not sticking out, and start your little loop. So now I got a start of a little loop here. I'm going to continue to turn, and you can turn your plier hand, which is this hand, and kind of coax a little curve with the other hand. So both hands are working to give you a nice little spiral. I don't want my wires to touch, so I'm keeping an eye on that. There we go. And this is very soft wire, so you have total control over it. So you don't have to force it, you don't have to rush. Just take your time. So there's my little spiral on the one side. Let's go to the other side and do the same thing. Grab my little tip, not sticking out. Very good. Let's see if it will work with me here. There we go. Get a little bit of a loop started. Yes. Okay. Okay, let's get both of those hands working. There we go. Get my little spiral. Take your time. Yeah. If you need to make any adjustments, it's fine. And there are my little spirals. Now, I could stop, because that's pretty. And that would make a really pretty earring. As a matter of fact, make that an earring. I love it. That's lovely. but I want to go one step further. So what I'm going to do is kind of curve my wire and my beads around my little spirals. Now, one caution I want to give you is not to cram these beads on, because when you do this, it's going to separate a little, but the beads are going to bump into each other on the inside. You don't want them too close together because you can crack one of your lovely little seed beads, and we don't want that. I've done it. It's heartbreaking. So you want to so you want to just give yourself enough to fill the wire, but not enough to cram it so that you can't make these little bends in it comfortably. Okay, and I'm just bending that like so. Here it is. My little caterpillar, maybe? He's on his way to be a butterfly. Ooh, I never even thought of that. So there it is. But what I want to do is have these little loops sticking up. So here's the top of my loop. I don't want it on the side. I want it sticking up as much as I can. So I'm going to go in with my round pliers and I'm going to twist it until that loop is straight out. So of course what happens is your little spiral moves along with it. So you just need to push it back in. Make any adjustments that you need. And there we go. Let's go to the other side and do the same thing. I want this to be sticking up this way. So I'm going to go with my pliers, give it a twist. There we go. And I like to hold on to this because if I push this back down without holding the loop's just going to go with it. So hold on to it with your pliers and push my little spiral back in. There. There's my little earring. So now all I need to do is make an ear wire. So I'm going to grab a piece of couple of inches of 20 gauge wire. Okay, yeah. All right. Cut that off. I'm going to make a small loop back here. So I'm just going to wrap a small loop. Just wrap my wire until it closes. Then you just need a cylindrical item. I'm just using this. I've used ink pens, very narrow pins, something like that. You can use the back of your pliers if they're big enough. But I'm just going to use this little guy right here. I'm going to put my loop, put my cylindrical item behind my loop. And see if I can get a good grip on it. The loop is sticking out this way. And come on, wrap that tail around my cylindrical item, just like that. And then I'm going to use my fingers to create a little curve. Just a little curve there. Grab my round nose pliers again. And right here at the tip, I'm going to put a little bit of a bend. So I'm just going to tweak that up like so. And there's my little ear wire. There, easy, easy peasy. Then I'm going to open this up, open up my little loop. I just twist it to the side, slide my earring on, close it back up. Yay. Here's my earring. Now I have a little loop on the bottom that I can use to dangle something if I want to. You don't have to. This is pretty just the way it is, but if you want to dangle something, why not? So I've got this little teardrop I'm going to put on there. So I just need a tiny little piece of wire. You need 1/2 inch of wire on each side of your bead, and then whatever the measurement is of your bead. In my case, it's about 1/4 inch. So I need about 1 1/4 inch of wire. Let's see here. 1/4. There we go. Turn that off. I'm just going to make a little, I'm going to make a little bend because I'm just going to make a little pin. So what I'm going to do is go right here on the tip. Let me make sure that's nice and straight across. Let me cut that nice and straight. Nice. Okay. So I'm just going to make a little nub on the bottom of this wire so that I can put my bead on and it won't fall off. So I'm going to take the very tip of my pliers and at the tip of my wire, and I'm going to make a half turn. I'm not going to make a loop. I'm just going to go halfway around. And you want to go right on the tip because you don't want too much space in here, because next thing you're going to do is take your pliers, square ones, and squeeze that little nub together. I'm going to clip a little bit more of it off. I just want a teeny tiny nub. Okay, and squeeze that two ends together. Okay, there we go. So now I have something that my bead can rest on. Let's put the bead on. There. So now I have a nice little head pin. Then I'm going to go here to the top of my bead. I'm going to bend the wire out to the side. I'm going to cut it down to about 1/2 inch, holding on to that tip so it doesn't fly. Then I'm going to grab my round nose pliers, and I'm going to make a small loop, just a little, put my wire just the tiniest bit over from the tip to the right of the tip, going towards the hilt. And make a loop. Just rotate until my wires touch. A little bit more. Here we go. And now I'm going to open that back up, twisting it to the side, attach it to the bottom of my earring, that bottom loop, and close it back up. And there's my earring. Isn't that neat? Just fun, kind of flirty little earring. Here's my other one. Love it. I'll make the ear wire for that a little bit later. But there's my first pair of earrings. Yay. So then I thought I would do one that was just plain, no frills. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a plain one. Let's see here. So I need another 5 inches. Straighten that out, even though I'm going to curl it all up anyway. 5 inches. There we go. Okay, so this one is going to be bare. It's not going to have any beads on it. So what I need to do for that one is measure, because I'm going to have a slightly larger spiral. So I'm going to measure an inch and a half. Inch and a half from the end. Grab my round nose pliers, slide them on about a little less than a third of the way down my pliers, and I'm going to rotate until I have a loop, nice crossed over loop. And I'm going to put that back in there. Bend that wire, the long wire, until it's going straight down and the short wire is going over to the side. Then I'm going to shift that short wire from one side to the other. Yes. I'm going to tighten that with my pliers. There we go. Then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. So an inch and a half, the end. Yes. Make my little loop, same as the other side. Wires are spread eagle, doing the splits. Let's check. This loop looks a little tiny bit smaller than the other one. So let's open it up a little more. Just kind of scoop that down and reclose. Yes. Now I'm going to straighten this wire. I'm going to bend it down until both of my wires are going out to the side. There. Yes. Then grab my square pliers, and again, I'm going to shift this wire over to the other side. All right. Straighten up that loop. Nice. All right. So now I'm going to measure to see if they are at least close to the same size. I don't like this. I don't like this. I can't see the markings. Okay. So I've got one, and let's flip it. I can actually see a little over 1 1/4. Let's go over here. Yeah, about 1 1/4 is where I'm coming in at my tip. So this one, a little more than 1 1/4. I thought it looked a little longer. So let's go ahead and snip that up so that it's the same size as the other one. Okay. Does it have to be exact? No. But I do want to get it as close as I can. Get over there with your other little buddies, other little pieces of wire. So now I'm going to make a spiral, and obviously this spiral is going to be bigger than the ones that we did on our beads, but I have the beads, so we didn't necessarily need a large spiral. On this one, I just wanted a little more embellishment. So let's go ahead and grab the tip of the wire with the tip of the pliers like we did before. Make our little, start our little turn for a little loop. And notice how I make it very tight, very close, because I want it to be small. And then I'm going to start curving both of my hands. Get a nice little spiral in there. Take your time. It's not a race. And at this point, I'm going to switch to my square pliers because it's kind of hard to keep my round pliers in there and do this once you get to a certain point. You can also use your fingers. You don't have to use pliers at all. The only reason I'm doing it is because if I put my fingers here, you can't see what I'm doing. Okay, so let's continue. Little bends. Yeah, nice. Till I have my little spiral. And then you can adjust it the way you want it to look. But that's pretty. I'm going to give it another small turn here. There. Now I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just make a tiny little loop to start. And let's continue to spiral. Working both hands, getting that little spiral in there. Then when I get to the point where it's not easy to do with my round pliers, I'll switch to the flat ones and hold it on the side. I'm going to push that together a little bit, or a little tighter against the other wire. There we go. Continue to turn until I have the spiral the way I want it. Again, pretty. You can make an earring out of this. But what do I do with all of that bare wire? It could be pretty. I think it could be pretty, but we're going to spiral, kind of do a half spiral on our bare wire. So I'm just going to wrap this wire partially around my spiral to create a bigger spiral, I guess, and then do the same thing on the other side. Push it down so it's nice and flat. Ooh, isn't that pretty? So now let's straighten this little loop up. There. This one's pretty straight. Yeah, we'll leave it. So there we go. Now, I did something similar to this after I did the necklace, but I thought, wouldn't it be neat if we made it a double? Why not? Let's make it a double. This would be a really gorgeous dangle. It wouldn't be too heavy or anything like that. And so what I'm going to do is grab a couple of these really pretty beads, waist beads, and I'm going to use them to link this together. So all I need is a little bit of wire, a very tiny amount, because this is probably a 16th of an inch in length. And then I only need a half an inch or so on each side in order to make my loops that will connect it. So let's cut that off, put a little half-inch bend in my wire. and make a loop. I'm going to go down about a quarter of the way down. I don't want too much distance between these two pieces. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap that closed. Let's turn it until I have a loop. And you can see I have a little neck here. I don't want that neck. So I'm going to straighten that back out. And rebend. I could have cut the loop down a little bit and reclosed, but this is another way. Straighten it out, rebend. And that's easy to do when you don't have any beads or anything on there. There. So let's put a bead on. Put this guy on. Do we want this one? Yeah, let's do this. Oops, this green one. Okay. Oh, isn't that pretty? It's red, blue, green. Oh, I love it. Okay. So let's go ahead and put that on. And I want these loops going the same direction. So I'm going to bend my wire so that when I make my loop, it will be going the same direction as this loop. Now sometimes I like to have one loop wrapped one way and the other loop wrapped the other way because I think it gives it better balance, but that's just me. I could just be fooling myself. I just like the way it looks. Okay, so I'm going to cut it down to about 1/2 inch, holding on to that tip so that I can get rid of that little piece of wire. Grab my pliers, slide my wire down about just a very small distance from the tip, make my loop. Just keep wrapping until my wires touch. Make sure that these are going in the same direction. There we go. And what you can do, if you see one going one way and this one's going the other way, just grab one side with a pair of pliers and the other side with your fingers and twist it until they're both laying the same direction. And let's go ahead and attach. Now you could do this in either color because I made this two-toned. I could have made this little bar. Um, I could have made it copper, but I'm going to make it silver because I'm going to put a dangle down here and I'm going to use the copper wire just to have something a little different. So I'm going to have the two colors bartering against each other in each link. Copper, silver, silver, copper. Fun, 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 fun. Okay. And there. Matching it up with my other earrings just to make sure. Yes. Come on, come on, come on. Little tiny beads. Get over here. Stop it. You're making me look stupid. Okay. Put that on there. And close it back up. All right. There we go. Yes. Nice. I need to dangle something. So I'm going to grab another piece of wire, just a little tiny piece. Now for this, I'm going to use about 1.5 inches because I want to put a little spiral on the bottom. Yeah, let's do that. So let's go ahead and give myself 1.5 inches. I don't want a big spiral, but just something that kind of echoes. the rest of the piece. Right, so I'm going to grab my pliers and I'm going to make another spiral. You're going to be experts. So just rotate until I have a tiny little 3/4 loop. And then I'm going to keep going very carefully because I really don't want my wires to touch, but I want them to be close. Yes, and I don't want a huge spiral. So I'm using this hand to turn. I'm using this hand to kind of curve. A little closer than I want, make whatever adjustments you want to make. I'm going to give it another little turn here. And I'm going to match it up with my other one that I've already got done. Yes, that looks good. I need it closer. Boom. And curve that up till it's across from my little tip, like the other one. There we go. Squeeze that. There, nice. So now I'm going to put a bend in my wire. This is the size that I want my little, match it up with that one. Yes. This is the size that I want it. So right here, this is what I'm calling the top of my spiral. I'm going to bend my wire straight up. Like that. And I want a nice sharp bend. You can use your fingernail, you can use your plier, but you want to make sure it's nice and sharp because this needs to be coming around and then go straight up. So now I'm going to add some beads. I'm going to add these two little beads on here. Yes, that's pretty. Okay, I want my spiral to be flat so that it's front and center. So I'm going to bend my wire back like so. So this is what I have. And I'm going to cut it down to my little 1/2 inch. And make my loop. Get back on there. Get seriously, come on. Round nose, round nose. Make my little loop. Slide my wire just a fraction of an inch from the tip and make my loop. There we go. I want to make sure that it's closed, and I'm going to reopen it to the side. Attach it to the bottom of my earring and close it back up. And there it is. Isn't that neat? Now I just need an ear wire. Conveniently have one made. There we go. There's my little earring. Let's get it straight. Aren't those neat? I love that. And my others. Mm. Oh, thank you, Mary. Such a good idea. And like I said, as a little nod to St. Patrick's Day, I made one that has some little green crystals. I just thought that would be neat. So you can do two of them that are plain with some little dangles on them. You can make the little beaded one. This is basically what I did with this. I just made the beaded one and then I added a plain one down at the bottom. So look at the different things that you can do with this pattern. Kind of awesome. Individual. I did one that was an individual plain one. That's why I wanted to do something different. So this time we got a beaded one. That's just a single. I had to make my ear wire for that because I like these and I want to wear them. So then I've got a nice single beaded one. I've got a double with just plain wire, plain beautifully scrolled wire, a little dangle on the bottom. And then I've got one that has the beads on the top and the plain on the bottom, or you can flip it around and put the plain on the top and the beads on the bottom. It's entirely up to you how you do that. But look at all of the alternatives. I am loving this a lot. So there we have it, folks. This is our piece for today, or these are our pieces for the day. So we've got three lovely pairs of earrings that you can make from this. You can actually make four because, again, I said I made one before that just had the plain wire and a dangle. So this little design is very, very versatile. You can do lots and lots with it, and I hope you do. So this is our piece for the day. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Okay, there they are. There are our earrings. I love them. I love them. I gotta make the other one. Oh, or you know what? You could just wear one. I see people doing that. It's really neat. It's so they're very avant-garde. I've never tried it. Anyway, that's our piece today. Again, Mary, thank you for the wonderful idea. I absolutely love these and I cannot wait to wear them. So thank you. I hope that you like this and I hope that you like the tutorial. Please let me know one way or the other. You can contact me at my email, which is jewelrygen20@gmail.com. That's jewelrygin20@gmail.com. Or you can leave comments and pictures on the library Facebook page, which is facebook.com/DeKalb Library. That's DeKalb Library. Or you can leave comments on the library YouTube page, which is youtube.com/DeKalb County Public Library. You need to spell out the whole thing. That's DeKalbCountybPublic and let me know what you thought one way or the other. I love criticisms. I don't love them, but I will receive criticisms as well as any other comments that you might have about this, about what you've seen, about what we've done, about what could be improved, about what you would like to see. Because as you can see, I will take your suggestions to heart, and especially when they are suggestions on things that I can make. And all of those who come to my classes know that if they're wearing something that I really like, I'm going to find a way to deconstruct it more than likely and turn it into a tutorial or teach them how to make it themselves. So that's the end of our program for the day. I hope that you liked it. Let me know one way or the other. And until next time, have a great week, have a wonderful weekend, and I will see you later. Bye bye.